Morning. It's 4 a.m. and I am awake at this ungodly hour because Canon is announcing a new camera. And in fact, it's not really that new. It's really just like a revamp of a new camera, if the rumors are right. It's the R5C. It's the R5 with a fan. We'll see if there's any other surprises. But let's take a look at this announcement. It's happening so early because it's getting announced in London, where it's actually noon. And if the specs are favorable and the price is favorable, I may just pull the trigger right now. But I want to find out how much it's going to cost and if it's going to have everything that I need. Let's jump in.
Hello, I'm Ram Sarup, and thank you for joining us.
So this is interesting. The operating system in the camera is less of a Canon EOS hybrid camera like this camera, the EOS R, and more like the menu in the cinema cameras like the C200, C70. 4K at 120 frames per second is going to have audio like the C70. My guess is it's probably going to end up on the SD card while the video ends up on the CF Express Type B card. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but that's my guess. Okay, so the power switch goes one direction for photo and one direction for video, and that determines which operating system you get. If you switch it to photo, you get the operating system similar to what's on the EOS R and R5 and R6. Interesting. It's got the same hot shoe as the R3, so you can use the Tascam XLR accessory or the Canon shotgun mic accessory. It's got a timecode port, but I couldn't get a good view of what the port actually is. It may just be a 3.5 millimeter, but it's definitely not a BNC connection. So it does have the fan that leaked just a day and a half ago before this announcement. I'm curious as to the weather sealing of this camera. Is it considered weatherproof? I'm also curious as to the HDMI connection. Is it going to have the micro HDMI port that the R5 has, or will it have a full-size HDMI port? Looks like we are not getting C-Log 2 built into the camera, though if you record raw video, you may be able to decode it into C-Log 2 with the Canon conversion software. They are really avoiding showing us the camera with the ports open. And anytime they're showing us the side of the camera, the ports are closed with their covers. They really don't want to show us if it's a micro HDMI port or full-size HDMI port. I really hope it's a full-size HDMI port. It's also claiming that the base ISO for C-Log 3 is going to be 3200 ISO. That's really interesting because, like, one of the really cool advantages of having two operating systems on this camera means that the video mode is going to get shutter angle, which will be really helpful for getting a true 48th of a shutter. Also, because this has the Cinema EOS operating system on it, we'll be able to get waveform monitoring live on the camera while recording. So that's going to be very, very cool compared to basically any of the EOS stills cameras that just have a histogram, and that histogram goes away as soon as you hit record. So you'll be able to monitor your exposure much closer with this camera. It is already on B&H, and the price is $449. It looks like that is the price that I was hoping for. $449 was kind of the cap of what I wanted to spend. So the camera is officially announced. Most of the rumors were right. It's essentially an R5 with a fan. But one of the things, and I think this is a big thing, a big crucial point for a lot of people, was the HDMI port is not a full-size HDMI port. And I almost clicked the pre-order button, but I am a little concerned. I was really hoping the camera was going to have a full-size HDMI port. And now knowing that it's got the micro HDMI port instead of the full-size HDMI port, I think I'm going to wait. Another thing that I was hoping for but wasn't really rumored very highly was it was going to have Canon C-Log 2 built right into the camera. But this camera is only going to have up to Canon C-Log 3. Now that's a little confusing. You would think 3, it's newer, but it actually has a little bit less dynamic range than C-Log 2 does. While it has codecs robust enough to handle C-Log 2, I'm not exactly sure why they didn't put that in the camera. Now, theoretically, if you film in the RAW format, you can convert that to Canon C-Log 2 in the Canon software or in your NLE, but I would like to be able to monitor C-Log 2 right out of the camera. Another reason why I'm kind of hesitant to pull the trigger on the R5C is that not only is the R5C getting announced, but Canon is also announcing that the C70, which I've got chilling right here, is getting Cinema Raw Lite to be able to record to the SD cards. Now, this Cinema Raw Lite is going to be 4K up to 60 frames per second in normal recording mode with audio, and it's unclear if the S and F mode is going to be raw recording. So although this camera is only a 4K camera and it's a Super 35 sensor, I feel like this brings the C70 closer to what the R5 and R5C offer. Also, the C70 is getting interval recording and single frame recording for stop motion animation and time lapses. That is very exciting. Now, this firmware update isn't coming until March, which is about the same time that the R5C launches, but I feel like this is going to be a good step to kind of help me not have as much FOMO about not getting an R5C right out of the gate. Now, Canon just needs to update the C200 to have 10-bit 422 recording in XF AVC and not just have 12-bit RAW recording. And lastly, I'm not 100% sure about the weather sealing for the camera now that it has a fan in it. Typically, cameras with fans in them are not as weather sealed. You can't take it out in the rain like a fully sealed camera. So I'm just a little hesitant. So I think I'm going to wait and see more people have it in their hands and then decide if I personally want to upgrade my EOS R to an R5, which you can get for about $3,000 used, $3,500 refurbished, and of course the $3,900 new price. And I could get that camera with a Atomos Ninja 5 Plus, which will do 8K recording over, of course, the micro HDMI port. But that footage will be a little bit more editable right out of the box. And also will definitely give me Canon Log 2. Or spending the $4,500 and getting the R5C, it's got a fan in it, it records for an unlimited length internally, but it's essentially got the full price in the one camera. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wait this one out. I was really itching to pull the trigger on it, and then I was reading it, and I think I want to hear some other real world uses with the camera before I click buy now. So that's it for me today. My stance right now on the Canon R5C is wait and see. I'm gonna let some other people be the early adopters on this one. I really wanted to be the early adopter on it, but for the price, if it had been $4,000, that would have undercut the price of a refurbished R5 and a Ninja 5 Plus, but because that extra $500 is putting some hesitancy in me. That's it for me today. I'll see you soon. Peace.